Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires. This is the Couch Riffs podcast. God, it's so stupid. Listen, we are up to episode 93. I think it's 93. And my guest is Don Gunn. Now, maybe you don't know who Don Gunn is, but if you have seen videos that I've released recently, you would have heard some of his handiwork because he's mixing the audio for the performance videos, and that's why they sound good because he's great. Don, I've known Don for a while, for a minute now. I have recorded with him. I've worked with him on some other people's records. He's had me into play for some reason. He had me into play like a shreddy metal guitar solo on a song once. He's just throwing me a bone. And he's got a little studio that he works out of on his property up there in Seattle, Washington. And he does a lot of work around Seattle, and it takes us a while to kick into it. But we eventually start talking about how he got into all this, where he was working, and, such a missed opportunity. We didn't even talk about stuff that he's worked on, which is ridiculous because he's worked on some really cool shit. He's worked on like King Crimson albums and Soundgarden songs and like Death Cab. I swear he worked on a Peter Frampton record, like one from the last few, like 5-10 years. Really cool stuff. The band we work together on is a band called Campfire OK. And I'm really proud of what we did together there. I mean, really, he did all the heavy lifting. I just sat around and took up some of the air. But Don is a great guy, super funny guy, and he's been incredibly helpful to me. And is also, like all good studio folks ought to be, very patient. Or at least he's been very patient with me. And I appreciate that. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. I certainly enjoyed having the conversation. And look for an upcoming video episode with Don playing drums because he's a killer, kick-ass drummer. He also knocked out some drums for my solo record. So, listen. You could support this podcast and the videos. It'd be cooler if you did. Now there's a group of folks who have been doing that, being very helpful in that, and I want to thank them right now. Now you can be a Couch Riffs supporter for as little as 99 cents a month, and I'm gonna tell you who has been doing. I'm gonna tell you who is on the what is it, on Squires' good list for Christmas. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to get anything, but check it out. Thank you, Ryan Waters. Thank you, Hayden Smith. Thank you, Jamie McParland. Thank you, Teresa Morgan. Thank you, Matt Gabbs. Thank you, Justin Jones. Thank you, Deja Colantuono. Thank you, Adam Pranica. Thank you, Dan Hurst. Thank you, Joan McKagan Baker. Thank you, Dan Leary. Thank you, Aunt Kathy. Thank you, Mike Lacerda. Thank you, Rebecca Pellman. Thank you, Daniel Bland. Thank you, Chris Smith. Thank you, Perry Morgan. Thank you, Oliver Spencer. Thank you, Paul Hutzler. Thank you, Justice Gash. Thank you very much to Rolla Amplifiers. I appreciate you connecting me with Bob Balch. Look for an upcoming video episode of the two of us. I hope that he's using that Bob Balch signature amp. And thank you to River City Guitars because they're killer. Now, River City Guitars is a small but mighty guitar store in Spokane, Washington. You can find them at rivercityguitars.com. And, while this store has a small footprint, they are packed full of cool, vintage, and used instruments, amps, and effects. Now, my guy, Bobby Kluss, in Spokane, he is always buying stuff. So, if you have some things you would like to unload, get a hold of these guys, okay? You can phone them at 509-818-7693 or email them at sales.rivercityguitars@gmail. These guys are caring and generous folks. They'll give you a fair price for your used or vintage instruments. If you want to get rid of a collection or just single pieces, give them a shout. Now, check this out. Every week I pick a different pick of the week, right? This week I'm going oddball. You know oddball? This week I'm going oddball. Now, every once in a while when I feel like I have a bunch of oddball instruments, and so maybe this is an oddball. Anyway, it's just a little weird. My pick is a Gretch American tenor guitar from the 20s. That's just a little tiny 4-string buddy. I don't even know how you tune this thing. But it is pretty. Man, it's pretty. Looks to be all mahogany. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. It looks to be all mahogany to me. But sometimes when I feel like I'm plateaued or I'm having a little bit of a rut or some sort of a block, I'll pick up a different instrument, an instrument that I don't normally play, and boom, I am beyond the plateau. I am through. I've had a breakthrough. And so, if you're experiencing that, you're just like sitting around right now. I don't know what you're doing. That's not my business what you're doing. But you probably have a lot more time on your hands this year than you've had in a long time. And if for whatever reason you're having some writer's block, pick up an unusual instrument for yourself and have a little breakthrough. Maybe you write a whole album on this little tenor acoustic. This thing's priced at $7.99. They're taking offers. You can make an offer through the website or through Reverb, and it'll just look real cute in your hands. I don't know. I'm going to jump into the episode now. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. I think I'm on course to triple what I did my first year. So in my second year, 300% growth. That's amazing. Thank you for listening. I sure appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you wish to be treated. And don't be a dick. It's really easy. It's good, yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like every single time I do this, there's the some potential. Problem. Well, there's always the potential for some real weird shit to happen. Because I don't really know how to save. Like if I set something up, I don't know how to save it. Like, oh, this is a great setup. Let's save this so that I can recreate this again every single time. That never happens. Ever. Sorry. Ever. Well, here's my mid-year resolution. Because it's mid-year now. It's mid-new year.
We're past mid-year.
Well, just by a few days. If July 1st came and went and you didn't have a mid-year resolution, you're failing. You are not living your, top 5 best lives. Maybe you have an opinion about this. Maybe you don't. I'm going to try to find the right video educational course to teach me how to use Final Cut Pro and Logic properly. Because I've already learned a bunch from you, like saving a session as a folder, and then just then it becomes more usable across any DAW platform.
Well, it's just easier to get to your files.
Well, I mean, that would never occur to me because I hadn't done a ton of sharing files. I would just bounce a thing and send the bounce.
But even there, so when you create a project as a folder instead of a package, in that master folder, you get a bounces folder created. So when you do a bounce, it automatically wants to put a bounce there. So you don't have to then tell it, oh, go put it here. Now I have to go find that bounce. See, even that is smarter.
Yeah. No, so yeah, today, last night I spent a bunch of time editing the video, which you mix the audio for. We will not speak the name of it yet because it's like Fight Club. It's fucking great though. It sounds so good. And so
is it the one I did yesterday or the one I did a couple of days ago?
Well, I worked on that one today and I really fucked that one up. And that was the one where, because the vocal thing came to me in 3 videos and I had to figure out how to find them in a timeline and overlap them. And, because I used anyone that knows how to use this shit and hears me talk about it is probably rolling their eyes. Like you can hear
we do this.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
In Final Cut, there's like a main timeline or whatever it's called.
Magnetic not even timeline? Main. Magic timeline.
Is it magic?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Because it's Apple.
Right. Well, for whatever reason, I always put this music there first. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but I just put the music there first because my experience with editing the video,
that's not going to change.
Right. That's going to be, that's just constant. What is that called? Yep. Static?
Yeah.
It's just there. Right? So anyway, I was like, all right, so I made a vocal pass and then I bounce that out so that I can reload that in and then make a multicam. But then I started trying to learn how to do animation. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can animate the beginning so that different frames come in at different times, like, oh, they slide across and then boom, there's 4 or whatever. There's like 4, who fucking knows what I was thinking. But so then I'm like, okay, boom, stop the animation there. Now can I make a multicam out of these ones and move forward from there and then split the timeline again? And then it's just a mess. And then my computer gets the pop-up and it's like, you're almost out of hard drive space. And I was like, that's impossible. Don Gunn just fucking cleared my shit of like 100 gigs a week ago. And then I go in and I start snooping around and there's like 215 gigs of video just on my computer's hard drive. And I was like, what could that even be? It's all Final Cut. No, it's all Final Cut.
Yeah. Because when you're making a new video, you're making a library on your hard drive, your system drive, instead of on your external.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm going to take a class. Because, my friends who have been helpful to me have been very patient in answering the questions that I ask, because they're the kinds of questions. It's like if a kid says, how does an airplane fly, Dad? And then Dad's like, well, they go really fast and they have wings. I feel like those are the solutions I'm finding. Like, oh, so if I just have wings and go fast enough, I can fly. So those are the solutions that I want to just figure out how to do it right. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm all right. Are we going?
Oh yeah, man. We're
This is-
this is it.
This is real now, huh?
No, yeah. This shit is like people are used to this. Like,
People are used to wading through 5 minutes of what the fuck are they talking about?
yeah, what is this podcast about? I came here because I'm a fucking Don Gunn fan.
Is it about nothing?
Yeah.
Because that's what I should be on.
It's absolutely about nothing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do want to take the opportunity to say thank you for always being very helpful. It's
It's funny. I've had that role for a lot of people for a lot of years, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy because I like troubleshooting and finding solutions in my own life, and it's frustrating sometimes, but I know the joy of how I feel when that solution is found. So if I can give that back to other people just a little bit, I'm happy.
what are you, some kind of fucking Buddha?
No.
No. I knew that.
No.
That was a trick question.
Yeah. Mm-mm. No.
So I've talked to you a lot over the years, especially lately I've talked to you a lot, which has been awesome and exciting.
We have spurts of talking a lot. Like there
Right.
were times when you were here when we were still in Seattle when we would speak a lot, and then now we're speaking a lot doing couch riffy things and
Solo record things.
solo record things.
The solo
Indeed.
record is coming right along, by the way. I'm waiting on an aux. I've been using the UA amp sims, which are really good. But I would also like to use my amps. So I have
Of course.
an aux on the way.
I have a Torpedo Captor X on the way.
Oh, yeah, I thought about it.
I tried a client's aux. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
I've had one of the torpedoes before, so that's sort of more of what I know.
Right.
But I'm also swapping out one of my heads here in the studio for a different head, so I'm kind of curious to hear that with it. But yeah, being able to use real amps is fun.
Oh, yeah. It just makes better sense to me.
You froze.
Also, Yeah, no, you froze.
Now you're unfrozen. No,
yeah,
you froze.
this is welcome to my life. I live out in the boonies, and so if it gets too sketchy, what we'll do is switch over to audio only,
Okay.
and that'll take up less bandwidth. So where I was headed was that
Yes, I'm sorry.
you're sorry for what? Don't be
Interrupting
sorry to me.
and
What?
derailing.
This should be called the derailment podcast. Is this like that's the only real steady topic?
Okay, perfect. Then I won't feel badly about doing it again.
Ever.
Carry on.
You seem like a Northwest native.
That's because I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, I was born in Boston.
You're from Boston?
Yeah, I grew up all over New England. I lived overseas. I lived in Florida. I moved out here in '99.
Was your dad a military person?
No, he was restless. So he would change jobs a lot. I went to 13 schools before 8th grade.
I also did.
Yeah, so we moved every year to year and a half.
Well, I mean, our moving was more inconsistent, but that's crazy.
I have fully embraced the Northwest chill factor, though.
Right.
I found once I moved out here, the first couple times I would go back and visit my family, I was like, man, everybody out here is really kind of an asshole out here being East Coast. It's like, was I like that? I think I was. I mean, it's just like the energy is totally different.
Yeah.
Everything's really much more manic. And I suppose that's where like Seattle gets its sort of passive aggressive reputation from.
Right.
And it certainly has that, but it's also, I don't know. I like the speed out here. I like the lower manicness.
It was funny. I don't I don't feel particularly West Coasty, but I was on a sales call last week, and I was talking to these two guys that own this great little farm stand, and we were talking, and just through conversation, I was like, well, I only moved here. I only moved to New York 5 years ago, and they said, "Oh, you don't say." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "Where are you from? Seattle?" And they're just like, they called it like that. The one guy said, "You seem like a California guy," and the other guy said, "Nah, Seattle." And I was like, "Wow, is that obvious?"
Huh. Is your wife from out there?
No, she's from Texas.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But we met in Seattle.
My wife is from Minnesota, where she had lived her entire life until going to college in Oregon and then moving to Seattle.
Where at in Oregon?
She went to Willamette in Salem.
Uh-huh. I don't know many people who went to school there.
She wanted to get away from Minnesota just to go somewhere. I mean, wasn't disappointed in Minnesota or her family, but just wanted to feel like, okay, I'm going to college and I'm going to go somewhere. And her brother was at UW doing his PhD, so she had kind of a I-5 connection. She'd go up and visit him at Thanksgiving and stuff.
Right. Nice. And then...
so we met here.
Had she moved up here, or did you just meet her?
She was here a couple of years before I was.
Yeah.
And
she didn't move to Seattle to be with you.
No, why would anybody do that? She was already here. But she knew a group of friends. She had met this group of friends that I already knew out here from New England who had moved out here.
Right.
So, yeah, it was very strange connections.
At what point did you end up in Seattle? Like, how old were you?
28.
You were 28?
Yeah.
What did you do between... did you go to college?
I tried.
Did you go to audio school?
Nope.
No.
I went to a tiny liberal arts college upstate New York.
Where
You.
At? Oh, did you go to Bard? Oh, you froze. You went to Bard?
No, you froze. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so I'm super familiar with the whole Hudson, between New Paltz and Albany.
Yeah.
Very familiar. My former girlfriend / fiance went to Vassar, so I had spent a lot of time there and then wound up at Bard when I decided to try going to college at the ripe old age of 23. I made it a year and a half.
Do you remember when 23 felt old?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
That's weird,
And at
right?
23, right, and at 23, people my age were like, "Whoa, you're an old man." I just hurt my back.
That's great.
So, no, I started working in studios when I was 19. I had graduated high school, worked in a music store because my band was putting out a record. Didn't want to go right to college. I had gotten into Berkeley, deferred for a year, done the audition and everything, and decided, this band was putting out a record. We were going to do a bunch of shows. I didn't want to just abandon that as I got out of high school. So I worked at a music store. We did a bunch of gigs. Then the engineer at the studio where we recorded quit. And I talked to the owner and I said, "Hire me." Why not?
And you had never plugged a microphone in?
Oh, no, that's not true. I was the one in the band who was always recording our demos. I had...
How is it always the drummer that does that?
I don't know.
Not always, but do you find that...
I was the one in the band who didn't want to get stoned. I wanted to play with the gear.
Right.
Everybody else was stoned. I was playing with gear.
I feel like there's a high percentage of drummers who end up being the documentarians of the band, for one.
I think drummers have a different kind of focus in a lot of respects, just given the nature of our instrument and the number of limbs moving at the same time I don't know.
But
We focus
also,
differently.
drummers, in my experience, not exclusively, but they seem to make the best studio people.
We're accompanists first. So I think we're listening for the bigger picture a lot of times. We're not trying to be the solo guy out front, whether it's a vocalist or guitarist or whatever. Like we're in the back. So
Right.
I think we're hearing the bigger picture a lot of times. Maybe. I don't know.
It's interesting to me.
So I started working at this studio, but I was always the one in our band when we were recording and in studios with other engineers. I would be at the console. I would be, kind of making decisions and hearing things. But then our record turned out like shit. So I decided I had to learn how to do this so that I could record my band and we would sound okay. I didn't care about recording other people really. I mean, other than the people I'd done on 4-track and stuff, I had fun. I didn't get paid. But then I found out that I really, really loved it.
But that's how you started with the 4-track cassette.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. But the
and
first studio,
were you tracking drums on all 4 tracks and bouncing them down to 1, or were you?
No, I had a Radio Shack 4-channel mixer that I would plug 4 mics into, record that to 1 track. So I had like a PZM and put a 57 on the snare, put something somewhere else.
How'd that sound?
Really, really awesome.
Yeah. That's probably how I would still do it.
I had worked really hard to make it sound as good as it possibly could.
Right. Under the circumstances.
Yeah.
And now look at you.
And now look at me.
Now you have foam hanging above your ceiling and stuff, above your head.
I have all kinds of shit.
So...
No foam. Foam is terrible as an acoustic material.
Well, what is that above your head? Is that a wooden
These are
block
all
with cloth over it?
No, it's a frame with Owens Corning dense fiberglass boards in it.
Is that called a diffuser?
This would be a combination diffuser and absorber. And then I have giant absorption in the corners.
You can say that again.
For really, really low frequencies. Yeah, those are diffusers up there. Yeah, I like
that's
the
all very
acoustics thing.
fancy. So, where was this? This studio was in Boston.
This was in Hartford, Connecticut. The hotbed of
Connecticut.
musical activity.
That's right.
The first studio I worked in was in the Colt Firearms factory.
Really?
Yeah, well, it had been turned into, this factory it's a landmark. It had been built in the 1880s or something. It's this humongous, multi-block long factory, many stories high, this giant gold and blue sort of Occidental style dome on the top. Crazy. So that was the original Colt Firearms factory, but it had been turned into art spaces and whatnot.
Wow.
But it was a cool place, old wood floors, 20-foot ceilings in each of the rooms. So yeah, that was where the studio was.
What was it called?
Suite 16.
Is it still around? Do you know?
I do not believe so. It moved from there at some point. It was still called Suite. I mean, he called it Suite 16 because it was a 16-track studio. And then he went to 24-track and still called it Suite 16.
16 track 2-inch tape?
No, this was 16-track half-inch, the finest quality.
I think my first record I recorded on something like that.
Our first thing that we did was 2-inch 24. We did a demo, 3 songs.
What did Conrad have at his studio?
Oh, he had 1-inch 16-track.
Right.
That can sound quite nice.
It sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
We recorded it in a day and a half.
Perfect.
We were well rehearsed, and most everything was live.
That makes it go faster.
Yes. It makes it go gooder. So how
More,
long were you there, and what kind of growing pains did you have, like learning how to?
all of them.
Right. Because you're making
I mean,
tape edits, or you're just like no tape
yeah,
edits, you
yeah.
just perform properly.
No, well, perform properly, but most of my tape edits there for that kind of thing would have been on the 2-track, because I was printing down to 1/4-inch half track, and then would just cut that stuff. Yeah, so it was like a lot of trial by fire shit.
Can you imagine if you had a tape machine in your studio there?
I do. It's in my shed right now. I have a 1/2-inch 8-track.
Oh, you do?
I hate tape. I truly hate tape.
Well, it's kind of a pain in the ass. There's like some people have this like romantic notion about it, and I think
Fuck that.
there are things about it that I think are cool, and every once in a while I think, man, what if I just had like just used a mastering deck to record live to it? Like, didn't Frank Black do that?
Maybe like just did everything to 2-track.
Yeah, live to 2-track.
Live.
Boom.
Joe Henry did that a few years ago with one of his records, and it's pretty cool. But it also it some of the songs on it sound like what I don't like about tape, where shit gets kind of blown out, and it also never sounds the same on playback, and I hate that.
Right.
If I've created a sound and I know what it sounds like and I like that sound, I want it to always have that sound. I don't want it to change.
That makes sense. But if you know what sort of effect the tape is going to have on that sound, maybe you would
Except every single time you play it back, it's going to be a little bit different. And it's going to be a little bit more degraded and continue to degrade.
What is this, an intervention?
Sorry. I'm not telling you can't use tape. All I know is the last record I did on tape was a combo of tape and Pro Tools, and I spent so much time changing multi-core connectors to bounce the tape stuff and try and keep it in sync with Pro Tools over to Pro Tools, do edits, bounce it back to tape, and then come back to Pro Tools. Like, we lost a day and a half in the process of making this record of just changing fucking connectors.
Right.
That's no fun. And ultimately, I don't think any of it benefited the sound. I think from a tape standpoint, what is nice about it is that you are limited. You have 24 tracks. What are you going to do?
Right.
Like if you don't have multiple decks that you're syncing together, I liked that about recording on tape, because you really had to think ahead about how you were going to lay out your tracks, where they were going to go. I got a hole here on the track that's supposed to be the guitar solo. Well, for the rest of that song, there's no guitar solo, so we can put tambourine, we can put all kinds of shit. That was kind of interesting.
It seems like, and that might just be the few people that I've talked to, because I know a few people, but I don't know a ton of people. I don't belong to a studio community. But it seems like when digital recording became accessible and people started having, they were empowered to make records at home or make them in project studios, and they would go to a studio and track drums and then go and do overdubs at home. When all that became a thing in around 2000, that's about right? Yeah.
Yeah, things started getting like affordable enough, and computers were then fast enough.
Right.
That, yeah.
It seems like people went fucking bananas, and they were just like, that's when there were all kinds of bloop, 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 and pitch correction came into play, and all of this stuff. As people were going down the rabbit hole and experimenting with what they could do with digital recording. And then, not that is something that needs to be corrected, but it seems like the way people use DAWs has shifted back to using it like a tape machine. The folks that I've talked to, they're like, I like to use it like a tape machine. I don't want to record a DI and then finger fuck a guitar track trying to find, spend 4 hours trying to find the perfect sound. Like, just commit a guitar sound and move on. Like, in that regard, I guess.
I think it depends on somewhat the style of music.
Right.
Because I'll get pop stuff to mix with over 200 tracks. And
what kind of things are on a song that has 200 tracks?
Real drums, programmed drums, real strings, programmed strings, a lot of synths, real guitars, 80 tracks of vocals, things like that. It's not stuff happening all the time, but it's a lot of things, and they come in at different parts. But yeah, right. It's more than 200 tracks. And that's its own kind of interesting challenge.
What happens if there's more than 5 vocals on a part?
Then there's more than 5 vocals on a part.
Like, what if they're in unison? Are they ever in unison? Not
sometimes.
Harmony?
Yeah, sure.
And
if you're going for an effect.
Right.
I've layered 18 of me on a part.
Really?
Yeah.
What was Mutt Lange's trick? Surely he had some sort of a gag, right? Because his records I appreciate them for their slickness, but there's also something that's a little bit raw about them. Like, it's not...
Yeah, which is interesting. But they were, stuff like Def Leppard, that was still done before you had the capabilities of a computer, right? So they were still working on tape, even if it was digital tape, where you can fly some things around. Like the Sony decks, you could mark sections and move them. But he was locking Sony digital decks, which had 48 tracks, together, and one of those might just be background vocals. So there are layers and layers, and they would also record them sort of in the like Doobie Brothers style, where you'd have 3 or 4 people singing one note of a part. Like, you're doing the root, and then we're going to go back. We're going to do the root 8 times. Then we're going to do the third, or whatever,
Right.
So just layers and layers of the same parts, and you get that smooth, slick insanity. But that's why those records would they took 3 years to make,
Right.
It's like people, there's an expectation now, because everybody's got GarageBand or whatever on their computer, that, well, we can make a record just like that in a weekend. Like,
right.
Oh, really?
Right.
And people don't,
people
don't have budgets. Right. People don't have budgets, so everything has to be done fast, but with the expectation that the quality is going to be exactly like these records you love that took a year to make.
Right.
And that's a hard, as an engineer and producer, that's a hard thing to try and do, but also get across to people like, look, you're human. There's only so much you're going to be able to do in this amount of time. So either come up with more money and we can spend more time, or it's just not going to be exactly how your brain envisioned it.
In a perfect world, I love recording as live as possible. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have a well greased machine, if your band is well rehearsed, and you want to go in and double some guitars, then go and double a guitar. Great. Mm-hmm. Leave the solos for the who knows? Maybe you do the solos live with the band. Maybe do them after. But now that I'm almost 50, like, I'm never going to be in a well rehearsed band again. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Well, and that's. Yeah, I mean, most of the time you went in to make a record because you had written the songs and you had rehearsed the songs.
Yeah.
And bands were gigging all the time. I mean, COVID shit aside,
Right.
you were a band and you played shows. So you would run these songs live usually. So yeah, you could go in and a lot of the stuff, even if it was just rhythm section stuff, could be put down. But I think a lot of it now is that, just like styles have changed and there's less sort of rock music,
Right.
guitars, bass, drums being written and recorded, and everybody has influences from other genres that are now part of their music. So you get like this hip hop influence, or you get the pop production influence. That stuff's not about playing parts live. It's about layering things. So, you may start a song writing it with a drum loop and put down some guitar stuff and you're building up an arrangement, and then you may have people come and play on that. And it's really different. And that's in sort of pop and rock styles now.
Right.
It's all built in a different way.
And that certainly
weird.
doesn't take rehearsing, does it?
No, because you can just sit there and play the part 400 times until you get it right. It's not about, or you can play it 3 times and edit the shit out of it and make that part. So that part was never actually played.
I mean, I'll take rock with you over that stuff any day. Although I appreciate some of the new pop stuff that but man, the playing on those records is just like incredible, right?
Yeah. Well, that's where you hear, musicianship in the traditional sense of somebody who has spent years and years and years practicing their craft.
Right.
Of playing an instrument. The craft is different now. And I don't know that the audiences care.
Would you say that the craft is singles?
Oh, look, I'm getting a call. I have to go. Bye. Boop.
Food jokes.
That was horrible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a singles world.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about records as an album, as a collection of songs that are meant to be heard in their entirety.
I do.
Me too.
I do.
I still buy these damn things.
You buy compact discs of sound?
Compact discs. Because I like how they sound, and you know what? I like to read who did what.
Right. No, that's the one thing that I
want to know who worked on the shit.
Right. That's
liner notes.
I still buy vinyl.
Right. Well, and vinyl's cooler from an artwork perspective.
Right.
Because it's bigger.
Yeah.
I don't, because I have no way of playing it. But
do you have Google at home?
no, I don't know what that is.
Oh, well, if next time you go for a play date to the neighbor's house, ask if you can use their Google, and
Okay.
Go into the search bar and enter in their record player.
All right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, hey, let's bounce forward. So,
In time?
I mean, not from now. That would be cool,
Okay.
but I fear that we would just find a decimated, scorched earth.
Fuck. Great. You mean it doesn't get better?
I mean, I would be hesitant to bounce forward in time more than 3 months.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah. So you get to Seattle. You're 28.
Yep.
And you have a pair of drumsticks and a fucking Tama Rockstar kit.
No, I had a Premiere kit when I moved here.
A Premiere.
Yeah.
So like you're so vintage chic.
No, it was a new Premiere kit.
I didn't know they were still making Premiere kits.
They aren't now, but they were then.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Was it a double kick?
I had a cheater beater,
Oh,
double
nice.
pedal.
Yeah, good deal. So you get here, your band has disbanded in Connecticut.
Well, my bandmate was out here.
Oh,
So the plan was I was also going to move out here, figure out the studio scene, and we would make music again.
so at that point you were like, "All right, I am a drummer, and I want to and music. I want to drum to music, and I want to be a studio guy. That's how I will supplement. That's how I'll have a that's how I'll make money."
That's how I'll pay rent.
Right.
Yes, but I also came out here and I had a job to go to.
You had a job before you got here?
Yes.
You, I love
know.
your planning. Tell me about this job. How
So while I was in Connecticut and managing this studio and managing a music store and working 1.5 million hours a week, I was teaching myself web design and graphic design. So my bandmate was working at a web design company in Bellevue, and they needed a second designer. So I did a phone interview and I got hired. And 2 weeks later, I was moving to Seattle.
Wow.
So I had a design job doing these kind of big client shit in 99 when the web was really hot. And then the .com crash happened. And the company disappeared, evaporated.
Right.
And that's when I went, okay, I guess now it's really time for me to get on my studio horse and figure out how it works here. And I had joined a band, and we were a really well rehearsed band. We played a few gigs.
What were you guys called?
Tarnish.
Were you were a rock band, a progressive rock band?
We were. We like to describe ourselves as an instrumental version of Tool meets Dead Can Dance. So one of the guitar players also played hurdy-gurdy through his orange half stack.
Wow.
And pedals. And I was triggering a ton of samples and loops while playing my kit. So we had there was like this heavy world music influence with heavy rock stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And you guys stayed instrumental.
We did. We had talked about auditioning some vocalists, and I think we had a few people come out and try and do stuff. But it was just not great. So we stayed instrumental.
By what you described, I think it's hard to find a singer for something like that. That is,
it would have to be the right singer. Yeah.
That is,
they would have to
original
understand
sounding and yeah,
yeah,
can integrate into that kind of thing sonically.
Yeah. We were all good friends with a singer named Rafe Perlman, who was a kind of Seattle fixture for a long time.
I knew
you probably
him.
know Rafe.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know him, but
you know of him.
What a great singer.
Yeah. So we had him do some stuff, and sometimes I would then sample it and put it on pads and use it live. And I'm still in touch with Rafe. He's in LA right now. Well, he's in Hawaii right now, but yeah, we still chat all the time.
Is he still doing music?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been doing like soundtrack stuff, like hired as a vocalist.
I met him when he had like raggedy jeans and bohemian dreadlocks.
Yeah, when he was in, was he in Devashan or was he in?
He was just by himself with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, he did that a lot too.
That was like 93 or 94.
Yep, Rafe's a good guy.
I never belonged, concretely to any particular scene. I'm not very good at joining clubs, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't like
it. What Groucho Marx say? I don't want to be a member of any club that would have me.
Yeah.
As one.
Yeah, basically that's precisely how I feel. But I played in like a hippie jam band. And we played a show or two with him.
Okay.
I remember being impressed enough that years went by, and when I heard his name, I was like, "Oh, that fucking guy with the voice. That guy. Yeah, that's great." Okay, so
did the web thing for like a year and a half, while starting to. I still had some recording clients from the East Coast who would send me stuff. And at that point, we were sending hard drives and tape. I had a guy send me a reel of tape.
Wow.
To do some mastering on.
You gotta have a lot of faith in the in UPS.
No shit.
I know. I worked there for a little while.
So I was starting to. I was still doing a bunch of audio work. I recorded and mixed and produced the soundtrack for an independent feature film, like a full-on 90-minute movie that was being shot out here, and was trucking around a couple of ADATs and a 16-channel Mackie to go do location shit we would go record piano in churches. I did a pipe organ, did string sections. I was like, fuck it. Yeah, I'll do whatever. I don't care. So I was still doing that, but not in any of the studios. And then I started meeting more people, and I would just do the thing of like, your band's great, let's go record, and figured out what studio I wanted to go to. So the first studio I tracked in here was Litho.
Really?
Yeah.
Pretty good room.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So, Floyd would be my second, and my help. Where does this get patched for the first few times there? While I learned the patch bay and kind of figured it out. And then it just kind of started going from there. And then, so I did most of my sessions at Litho for a number of years. Still do, was there last week.
Let me ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
So the studio that you worked at in Connecticut, how many years were you there?
Well, so initially I started there in 1990. And then so 3 years first, and then I tried going to college. Then I came back, and in the time that I came back, he had moved it from the Colt Firearms factory to a extra room attached to a building on a warehouse that his father owned. So the owner of the studio. So he moved it there. It became a 2-room place and then he bumped it up to 24 tracks, all ADAT. So then I was there until I moved out here.
So you knew how to use a patch bay. You knew your way around a console.
Absolutely. It was just more of like, you go into a new unfamiliar place and everybody does their patch bay differently. And you're just like, okay, now I can walk into wherever.
Right.
And just be like, all right, leave me alone for a minute. Let me look at the shit, get my lay of the land, and I just go.
Right.
And I think in some respects it's also just sort of an initial trust thing with the studio, like, well, who are you and why are you coming in here? And please don't break our stuff.
Right.
That kind of thing. And over time, now I can just be like, I'm just coming in there. I'm going to use your studio and I'm not going to break your stuff.
This is a fair enough statement to make, that when a person walks into a studio for the first time, or even the first fucking 20 times, and they look at a mixing console or a console, it's like intimidating and overwhelming because there's so much going on. But what people fail to recognize is that
it's a lot of one thing going on.
It's the same thing over and over.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, and every console has its own quirks and differences, and a Neve is laid out. An original old Neve is laid out a lot differently than a current Neve, or this SSL is different than, a 4000 is a lot different than a 9000, or it's different than a duality. An API has its own thing.
different.
It is 5,000 different. Not necessarily better. So yeah, I mean, it's just about respecting the facility and not wanting to fuck up their shit.
Right. Who did you record that first session at, Litho? Do you remember?
Yes, it was a band called Scarlet Room. They were a sort of like cabaret rock band.
Nice.
So piano, guitar, bass, drums, real cool sort of drama vocals.
That's cabaret.
Yeah. So then around that same time, actually it was a little earlier than that, I think, I had met Jason Mcguire. We met at NAMM. We shared a room because I had gone down to NAMM to see some friends who were exhibiting, and Mike Cotta, the drum manager at American Music, and I got a room. And that was right when Jason had joined Death Cab, and they were going down to play like the Late Late Show and also go to NAMM and start talking to companies. And Jason was like, I want to go talk to Ludwig. I want to go talk to Peisty. So we shared a room and totally hit it off. I don't think I had heard Death Cab at that point, unless I'd heard something on KEXP out here.
Right.
But we really hit it off, and we kind of stayed in touch over the next couple of years. And then after, it was after Plans came out, and Death Cab was really just like, holy shit, suddenly really a big band. He wanted to build a studio, and hang on one second. I have a thing that I have to send to my wife. There. He wanted to build a studio, and he called and asked me if I wanted to help him build it and then run it for him. So that's what we did. And we built a studio called Two Sticks Audio, and originally built it as this like little tiny control room and a live room. But he had a whole bunch of extra space in this building he was leasing that was this sort of 5-year plan that became the 6-month plan.
Right.
We had done some stuff in this little thing, and he was like, you know what, I'm just going to make this bigger. So that's what we did. And it was a really, really cool studio.
That's where we met.
So I worked out of there for a few years.
That's where we met.
He moved. Yeah, exactly. That's where we met, working on Jeff stuff or on some Long Winter stuff.
Jeff stuff.
Was it Jeff stuff?
Yeah.
Did you come in the day we were doing the Huey Lewis cover?
What was the Huey Lewis cover?
Do You Believe in Love? So it was
it
John
the Long
and
Winters?
Rachel. Yeah, it was John and Rachel Flotard.
I'm trying to.
I thought you came in and hung out.
I feel
because
like
Eric
I
was
did.
there. Yeah, I think you did.
Did I play on it?
I don't know. You may have just come and been disruptive.
I'm good at that.
But John was probably taking a nap on the couch.
Yeah, or eating fucking peanut butter pretzels.
Something. Right, but we did meet there, and it may have been on Jeff's stuff, too.
Yeah, Jeff was... I don't remember what Jeff was doing. Jeff was doing...
He wanted to demo some tunes.
First iteration of his solo material.
Yep. Yeah, he wanted
including the Prince cover. And
yes,
like me,
which I played drums on.
Right.
But I didn't play on any of the other
That was the first
stuff.
recording that we were both on together.
Yeah. And that was really fun.
Yeah, I think Rachel was there for that also for a minute.
Oh, she may have come in and done harmonies, yeah.
Gary.
Did Gary Westlake play on that?
Yeah, Gary on a song or two.
Wow,
and
okay.
Then, and myself, maybe Leif.
I don't know.
I
have
remember,
those,
but it was so
backups.
long. That was like, feels like forever ago.
That was like 2008, 2009, maybe.
Maybe 2000. I don't think it was that early. Was it?
Yeah, because the studio closed late 2009.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. when
Maybe I
Jason
didn't
moved
even live in Seattle then.
But you were here a couple of times that happened to coincide.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's crazy talk.
I mean, it's 12 years ago. It's 12
Right.
fucking years ago.
So the studio was around for 6 years or so?
I think in total, like only 4 years from when we started building it to when it closed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's tough. The studio business is tough, huh?
Well, and Jason moved. He was living here. He was living not far from me, which was not far from the studio, so it was really convenient. But then he moved his family to Bellingham, and then started feeling like, I'm so far away. I'm never using my stuff, and it's expensive. It's a lot to have to. He's in a fortunate position where he's in a band that's doing well and he has a good income from that. But it's just like, wow, that's a big hole to pour money into every month. And it's a lot to maintain. There were all, shit breaks all the time. We had Walla's console in there, the old Quad 8, which we totally rebuilt and refurbed. So that was in good shape, but it would still have problems. The first session where we turned on the Studer, it had a little mushroom cloud of smoke that popped off of it as they switched it on.
Did you quickly switch it off?
Quickly switched it off, quickly called Stu Hollerman and said, we need to rent a 2-inch Studer right now. So you quickly rent a truck and move a washing machine sized tape deck.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So you have zero romance for the olden days.
Nah, fuck that.
What about the idea of using Pro Tools as an 8-track and recording
sure,
Great. Beatles style, but just into Pro Tools?
I think that's fun. I think it's a fun experiment. I think if somebody says we want to play everything live, like one mic on everything on each thing, and we're just gonna put it down, great.
Yeah.
It's going to be a thing. It's not going to sound like whatever, some like modern metal thing where everything is edited to within an inch of its life, and there's 20 tracks on the drums and samples and all that shit.
Right.
Like you have to go into it with an expectation of what the outcome is going to be, and if that's what you want it to sound like, great.
The thing that I constantly have to remind myself is that when I think like, man, listen to how great these Beatles records sound, they fucking don't sound that great. They sound great, but
right.
They sound but really what's great about them is the performance.
The arrangements, the performances, and the songs.
And the songs, yeah, of course. The production value is like, well, that was the best you could do then.
Absolutely.
But if they had the resources available then that we have now, they would sound a lot different.
They would sound a lot different. And I don't know that it would sound better because they working within their limitations made them do certain things. And that's where magic happened. But I think it has been really interesting with Giles Martin remixing some of the Beatles stuff, like the Sgt. Pepper's and Abbey Road and White Album, where on a number of those things, they were able to go back to the tapes that the Beatles had to do their reductions from.
Before the bounces.
Exactly. So he could separate things out and have like, now we have a 2 or 3 drum tracks.
Huh.
And he wasn't trying to make it modern or like he was staying extremely true to the nature of the original, but now had some flexibility. So, I can add a little low end to the bass drum or whatever.
Right.
Or the drums don't all have to be panned to one side with rhythm guitar number one and the bass, and then the tambourines over here.
Right.
Yeah, he could give it now a kind of wider, more interesting and natural stereo perspective. And I think those new versions sound brilliant. I think they're really great because you can hear stuff better.
I don't think that I have gone and listened to them, but I'm going to put on the headphones and I'm sure they're all available on streaming services, the originals and the remixes.
Probably, but I don't know.
I'll bet.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, yes, you can utilize any technology from any era in whatever fashion you want. It could be really basic and strip back, or you can just go nuts. I mean, you could record to tape and then cut the shit out of it.
Right. Violator was recorded to tape, right?
Yeah, but
it's one of the best sounding records ever to my ears.
Sure, but that's so programmed too that there's a lot of stuff that actually never hit tape until it was sort of being printed for the final.
Right.
Because you just sync all your sequencers to it. But yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal
it's going
sounding
to separate
record.
tracks, and then you're mixing it and bouncing it, and like it's,
Yep.
I think that it's crazy because there's also, if you listen to it, there's a lot of guitars on that old Depeche Mode stuff.
There's always a lot of guitar on Depeche Mode that people would just be like, they don't realize.
Yeah. And that never even occurred to me until I read something John Frusciante had like recreated the studio that Violator was recorded in his home studio. He was like, I want that, all that gear. I want it.
Hey, if there's a record to emulate, that's not a bad one.
Not a bad record. It's got the right tempos with the right dosage of darkness and pop.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's perfect. It's a perfect
really
record. Great. So when was the last time you were a member of a band? Active band?
Last year, for about a year and a half, I was the drummer for a band called Kirby Crackle, who I've produced 4 records for, and their drummer left, so I became the default drummer since I already knew the tunes. And I said, this is a temporary thing, be looking for a drummer. But that lasted a year and a half, and we played a bunch of shows, and it was really fun to go gig again and be in front of some good-sized audiences.
What? Am I getting this wrong? But
Probably.
'Cause I know Jeff.
Yep.
And I know that he was doing a thing that was that played like Comic-Cons and conventions and stuff. Is it that band?
It's that band. But Jeff was also in another band who I recorded a record for, and I can never remember their name because it's such a foreign world to me. But they were doing more like video game.
That's what I was thinking about.
Arranged for a band.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so he was in that band, but then he was also in Kirby Crackle, and then he was going to move. He was going to move to California.
Right.
But he didn't. So when he made the decision that he actually wasn't moving, he came back to the band.
Right.
So great, he's still in the band. There's no hard feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun to play shows again.
I miss it.
I miss the time of playing. I don't miss anything else.
Yeah.
About it.
Right.
I don't want to go on tour. Fuck that.
I don't want to go on tour in a van.
I don't know that I want to go on a tour in a bus. I don't want to have to hot bag it.
It's pretty, I mean,
I get claustrophobia and panic attacks. I don't want to be on a bus bunk thing.
Right.
Fuck that.
I mean, I have a real love-hate with it all, because all of a sudden it's like being on a train, right?
Sure.
You know, it's like you're on a train. Fuck. I can't just get off. The train is going to the place and you get off in a very specific place, right?
Yeah.
It's not
I like escape routes.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Really?
One of the best things about touring with the long winter, really one of the only great things about touring with the long winters, other than like road jokes, was that John was always interested in taking the side roads.
Okay.
Like, you know,
even if it took you twice as long.
Yep.
Okay.
Even if it was like, all right, everyone, we're waking up at 4:30 tomorrow morning, and we're deviating off the main interstate because we're gonna go drive through the painted forest. You know.
So at least you get to see some shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Rather than a highway for 12
Or we're gonna
hours.
go see the world's most giantest taxidermied crocodile or whatever. You know, it's like. He just was always down for that adventure.
He was going to be your tour guide as well as the singer in the band.
That's absolutely correct. So
that's cool.
That part was always really fun, but that's something also that you can't really do on a bus.
Sure.
Maybe more so in the States you could, but in Europe and the UK, because of the drivers' unions, you can't. I mean, drivers can... Sometimes you have to take 2 drivers out if you've got long drives.
Just from a time standpoint of how long a driver can drive?
Yep, because of the union contracts and whatnot.
And if you're going to go off like the main highways there, you're on some really small roads.
Oh, yeah.
Really small.
Yeah.
That you don't want to be driving a bus on.
No, you do not. You do not. Have you been on any of those European back roads on a bus?
Not on a bus.
Fucking sketchy. It's I mean, it's like marginally.
I've driven in a car and it's pretty sketchy.
Yeah. It's weird. Coming down
because they're not 2 lanes usually.
Coming down from Switzerland into Italy, even that, and that's a highway. You're like, I don't know how much I like this, you know. I don't know, man. People do it. People have, not right now. They don't.
Exactly. I think it's a different personality than what I have to go on the road like that.
Right. I found that I really love to play. I love to play shows, but my downtime and my mental health was such that I looked forward to performing, and then by the time I performed, there had been so much downtime and so much building up to that moment that it rarely satisfied. It was like drug type stuff, right?
Sure.
And that definitely would affect my mood, and then ultimately my ability to enjoy performing in the moment. Not always, but certainly sometimes it just fucking ruined everything. But I do miss playing. There's nothing better than just fucking blasting rock music.
I agree. I totally agree.
I love recording delicate music and seeing it, grow into this thing. I don't like performing delicate music on stage. It's fun
to just rock the fuck out.
Yeah. what I just feel like when the nervous energy that I have when I'm in front of people playing, like I'm a hammer,
Yeah.
not a carving knife. Even if we are carving a statue, I am a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that about the playing with Kirby Crackle, because it wasn't technically difficult music, but it had to be performed to a standard.
Yeah.
And Kyle, the main guy, like, he was really particular about it, and you'd get dirty looks. and that's great. Like, he's holding everybody to a standard of, come on, we're not joking around here, even though the songs are about a comic book or a superhero or something. Like, no, this is going to be a like pop punk song that you better kick ass on.
Right.
Or you'll be asked to leave.
Well, I imagine that probably Weird Al runs the same kind of ship, right?
Yeah. They opened for Weird Al a few years ago.
Oh, is that right?
In Winnipeg. Or Calgary? Calgary. At a like giant, whatever, Canada. at a giant Comic-Con up there.
I just lost my 3 Canadian listeners.
Sorry, eh? Sorry.
No, let me be sorry.
But yeah, I mean, if you're going to go and perform in front of people, everybody should be doing it to the best of their ability and kicking ass.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I enjoy, like, I play a bunch of session stuff here. So I'm still playing just in my studio. And I love that. I like studio stuff because I like the ability to hone a performance.
Yeah.
And like work on an arrangement and come up with parts and then make it great. And it becomes then a thing that's how that song is supposed to sound. Which, if I were to then play live, that's what I would try and recreate. But I do enjoy the time in the studio of molding and massaging a part until it's right.
Well, I should have a couple more things that I would like you to play on.
I will always do it.
For the solo record. The one we won't talk about the details. No details.
It'll take me 10 minutes to play.
No. We don't talk about the details.
I won't. I say nothing.
It's but it'll be a snap. It'll be a snap. Has this been...
I think I just clipped my mic. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Has this been, compared to other years, has it been busier for you?
I haven't not been busy. Yeah. It's been, like, through all the weird shit going on, I've still had a consistent level of work. Partially because I already had work underway when things shut down, so then I would shift into like mixing mode. But I've had stuff sent to me from Nashville, from LA, from you. So it's been okay. I don't know. I feel really badly for... I feel extremely lucky that I have my own facility that I can work in and do professional work out of.
Right.
And still be able to, put out mixes that I hold to my standard. I feel really badly for rooms that are more, they are dependent upon people coming in and doing work there. Right. And I've had to shut down. Litho just opened up again a couple weeks ago. So I could finally, the sessions I had booked in March that were supposed to be in March, we'd pushed until July. And so everybody who had sessions during that closure it's all been shifted. And I know a lot of, if you're an independent producer or engineer and you rely on other studios to work out of, it's been really shitty.
Right.
I am extremely fortunate that I had decided a long time ago that I wanted to be able to do as much work as I could from my own place, and not feel entirely locked into working out of another room.
Your place is great. And when I think about having a space of my own, I always think about your space.
For 12 years, it has served me extremely well. It feels a little small sometimes, but it sounds good.
I mean, there was a time that we were working together there in your space where we had me, you, the singer and her dad, and 3 string instruments. And that felt
that's right.
That felt
tight.
That felt a little, not roomy.
But
we did it.
At the same time, we did it. And I have recorded 2 different 5-piece bands here.
Really?
I recorded 5-piece bands where everybody was playing simultaneously, with open guitar amps and live drums.
No, not plugged in direct and doing Sims or aux boxes or...
Nope. Amps in the room.
Really?
Mics in front of the amps. Yep.
Just like baffles to isolate?
Yeah, or, face the amps away from the drums, face the mics at the amps so that they're being blocked by the amp and it's throwing away from the drums. Yeah. And it worked. And it worked great. And it sounds awesome. And they could play live. I took the bass DI. Keys were DI, but we had a live scratch vocal going down in the room.
That's crazy.
And then I did a jazz band that had trumpet, kora, live drums, bass, and keys.
Wait, what is kora?
Kora is a 21-string African lute.
21 strings? Are there
21.
Are some of them doubled up like a 12-string or a mandolin? No.
Nope.
Just fucking
it's
20...
like this. It's a giant gourd with a stick coming out of it, and then the strings, that's the neck, and then the strings are kind of suspended, so it's plucked.
Like a harp.
Yeah.
Weird. That's crazy. I'm going to go... How do you spell that? With or without an H?
Kora.
All right. Well, it doesn't have a C either.
Nope. Yeah, you would have had a really interesting search on, what was that thing you called it? The Google?
Yeah, I'd have found a lot of there had been like Joey Cora.
So, yeah, I mean, I've made the best of this space.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think about that space a lot. I found this guy. I drove by his place a few times up here in the farmland. Mm-hmm. And, driving around, you just don't pull into people's driveway around here.
That's how you get shot.
That is correct, sir. But I drove by this guy's house a few times and slowed down. I took some pictures of this building that was his property is beautifully laid out. It's very thoughtful. He's got like an English garden over here and like this bar, like a black barn. And if you look closely at the details, there's a bunch of fancy details. So I knew this guy wasn't a hick.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I slowed down and I was like, oh, those are a bunch of like Chinese statues. Like this guy's not going to shoot me. So I pulled into his driveway and I was taking pictures of this building that was like a single pitch roof, like maybe 15-foot ceiling on one side and 10 on the other. And just nice looking building. Is like, that's what I want. And I stop and what I didn't see is one whole side of it was glass. And I see him and he's there playing classical guitar in the window. And so I'm like jumping up and down trying to get his attention. And so he comes out and turns out not only is he a hell of a nice guy and spent like 20 minutes talking to me, he's an architect.
Oh.
And he's
So
like,
he designed and built that.
yeah. And so you go inside, and so there's all this like really beautiful detail because there's like a porch overhang, and it's like a slab concrete. It's got polished concrete floors. I don't know if that's the best idea for what I want to do or not, but I sure like the look of it. Anyway, goals. I've talked to him about what it would take to get him to work with me on getting something designed, but yeah.
And I've spoken to a couple architects and contractors about doing something here.
Like redoing that, like taking that down.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's just say hypothetically you took that down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your footprint couldn't be that much bigger, right?
I would go out into the yard more.
Yeah, like 10 feet?
Yeah, like sort of double the current footprint.
Right.
But then the other option is to go down and
like
go underground and make it 2 levels, 1 level above ground, all the noisy shit underground, and do like a 12-foot ceiling down there. So then you get the insulation of the earth.
That's a hot idea.
So I'd have to check with zoning and stuff about that.
That sounds that sounds expensive.
Oh, none of it would be cheap.
Right.
That's the other thing.
I mean, could you... This is a crazy idea that you probably considered. Rather than tear that building down, could you lift it and move it over to a temporary foundation while you excavated your subterranean portion and then put it back?
No, because this is like I built this up on the slab. I floated a floor. So if I were to do that, I would just want to like move it to a new slab. It would be there, and then I would still have another thing sort of this same dimensions and go down. I don't know.
Right.
I like the idea of the undergroundness for not having sound transmission to neighbors.
Right. You could work later.
I just don't want to be in the same room as drummers anymore. Or guitar amps. It's really fucking loud.
Or people.
Well, that too. Yeah, I'm kind of over being in this. Did you ever work at Chroma when you were out here?
No, I don't even know what
Jason
that is.
Stazek's
Is that a
place?
20-string African lute?
No, Chroma was a really nice studio.
On
Down 15th, like heading towards downtown, south of Ballard and stuff.
south of yeah. I
Like
went
kind
there.
of by the.
It was a big open space. I never worked there. I went to a party there on Halloween, maybe, and.
But yeah, it was a big open room. The console was and the sort of control room area, you could block it off with curtains a little.
Yeah.
But it was a big room. And it was really cool. You know, it was really high, old timber joists and stuff. And the ceilings were probably, 15 or 18 feet. And it had an ISO, and it had a room, like a garage area next door that you could also patch to if you wanted to put an amp or something there. But it was a really cool space. But you were in a really cool space, and you were in all the loudness.
Right.
So, it took, you worked on headphones for a lot of it. But I did a record there, and it turned out really well. But yeah, I'm done being in the same room as drummers.
There's a studio 2 miles, maybe 3 miles from my house, owned by one of the brothers from the National.
Okay, so you're in that area. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That studio's amazing. Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, control room is part of the big live room. There is a booth.
Yeah.
For vocals, but yeah, it's all
and there's some guitar amps in there too if that's your deal.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
It's a cool space, but yeah, you're going to be on headphones a lot and you got to take the pummeling of drummers and guitar amps and all that shit.
Yeah. Nabil was out here and he recorded, his uncle made a free jazz record there.
Oh, cool.
And they stayed at the house here. But there's also an apartment there. They can put people up there. It's pretty interesting.
Oh.
It was a little out of my budget. But
is Nabil still in New York or is he back here?
He's in New York, yeah.
Okay.
He runs 4AD. You know that?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for him.
No, Nabil is like, I'll
proper record executive.
No matter what Nabil ever does, I will never be surprised.
Good for him.
He wrote a book that's been he just is
he's a Renaissance man.
Well, he's good at the follow through.
Okay.
There are a few people that when I am faced with something and I'm like, what would fill in the blank do here?
He's one of those ones.
He's one of the people, yeah, that I think, what would Nabil do in this situation?
He's got a good head for business.
I've never seen him get upset or raise his voice, even when things were really fucked up. Like on tour or whatever, everyone's just like losing their shit or they're mad or whatever. Nabil would be like, well, here are our options to make things better. He's just like the logical, reasonable. He's the voice of reason always. Yep. So,
I think I only met him once out here before he left, and it was right before he left.
Yeah, great dude. Moved to New York, didn't want to have a record company job, wanted to work on his own record or his own record company, and then got out there and of course ended up managing probably the coolest, maybe biggest indie label in the country. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Sub Pop they were the biggest indie for a while.
Right.
Yeah, but certainly a hell of a respected indie label.
Oh yeah, they've got quite a catalog, right?
Fucking cool artists. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he wrote a book, and of course, he had a list of his the three people that he wanted to get a publishing deal with, and got a publishing deal with his number one. He's just a doer.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I could write a book. I don't think I'd rather just talk.
I wrote a book once.
Did you really?
Yeah, a book about Logic. When Logic 7 was out.
Really? Yeah.
I don't want to do that again.
Was it published?
Oh, yeah.
Did I? Yeah, I have a book about. Did I buy your fucking book?
I don't know. It was a long time ago, dude.
I mean, when I first got Logic in 2007, 8.
Well, could have been. That was the time.
I bought a book like how to use Logic, fucking maybe 7.
It was Logic Pro 7 Ignite.
So maybe I bought your fucking instructional book.
It's possible.
I never read it.
Neither did I.
Here's the thing about manuals. They are terrible.
But a great one is awesome.
I've never met a great one.
I think Avid wrote a great manual for Pro Tools because I've used Pro Tools for 30 years when it was Sound Tools back then.
Right.
I still have to look up stuff once in a while just to be like, where's the thing that I know is there? I can always find it in their manual.
So you're talking about the digital manual, of course. So
you go to a PDF of
right.
It, yes.
So you can go up to the search bar. You don't have to go through.
I use the Google in the PDF.
The pref.
The PDF. But I love I'm sad when I buy a piece of gear and it doesn't have a manual anymore. They're like, go to the website and you can see our documentation.
Right.
I want to read something. I like holding things in my hand.
But I mean, what do you have? A fucking library of manuals? There's a lot of gear at your house.
Yeah, I do have a shelf of manuals.
Right. Man, they're also a waste of paper. And
I appreciate a PDF that is still searchable and has the information.
And outdated with, for instance,
well, that's the thing. Anytime there's an
updates.
update, you need to have a new manual. So, yeah.
PDF.
PDF.
You know, one thing that bothers me.
There's only one?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
One of the things that bothers me.
Yes.
Is that it seems like people write these manuals and they don't bother having anyone read them.
It's possible.
And they don't read back. It's almost like I don't even send an email. Well, I do on my phone. I hate to email on my phone, right? Because I'm old.
I know. We're the olds.
I'll send.
We still like computers.
Emails for a computer, text is for the phone, and there you go. Stay on.
Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah. So, although I message sometimes.
Dick pics.
Dick pics for sure. So I've reached out to a number of companies offering it's probably
your services.
Well, I've been like, hey, listen, I love your brand, love your products, and those were always sincere. Mm-hmm. And I've bought a number of pieces of gear from you, guitar gear mostly. You know, but one gripe that I have, and it's minor, however minor it is that your fucking manual is full of bullshit. Like there's spelling errors. There's like places where there are two words in a row where someone just clearly didn't edit it. Where it's like, next take the cursor. And it's like, just let me read that.
It's a little thing, but it says not enough attention is being paid here.
Right. You know what it says to me? It says, I don't really care if it's communicated to you clearly and properly how to use this.
But does that attention to detail then extend to the product?
Well, now I have questions because perhaps it does. Perhaps there are, there are many steps along the way where they're like, someone will catch it and we'll just have an update. It's like, well, fuck, man. Just let me read this.
Don't let your customer be your proofreader.
Right. Let me proofread your shit and I'll work for trade.
Give me a pedal.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I'll work for trade. I'll proof a number of them. And some of these folks, their English is like second or third or fucking fifth language. And so, I'm speaking specifically for the English translation of the manual, but that's gotta be worth something. But so far, no takers. And I gave up years ago. This was something that I was doing like, I wasn't working as much clearly.
But the desire for gear didn't go away.
I know, but the thing is, it's like,
how can I get some gear? Oh, I know.
Well, yeah, it's like, what can I do to be?
But you're providing a service.
Yeah, what can I do to be of service and earn some gear in a manner that I feel like would be well served? Like they clearly need someone to do this job.
Yes,
at least I think so.
Clearly,
I don't know if they think so. Clearly, they don't think so. Tell me about this fucking book. Well, is it like the whole like you start at the beginning and you're like, okay, go
Yeah,
into your audio
so-
preferences and choose your interface.
Like, here's the weird thing about that sort of stuff. At that time, Apple was still printing their own manual for Logic,
Right.
which was 1,000 pages or whatever.
Do you know what? I just threw mine away.
Did you?
I had my old original, it looked like a fucking
It was
almanac.
the giant, the big black,
with
like,
the
slide
it's
out.
like
Here
four
you
different books and a thing with discs.
Yeah,
and then I
CDs,
bought
they
the
had the-
upgrade.
Yeah, the plug-in reference, and then you had the main thing. Right, so all that, which was written well, and the guy who brought me in to do this book, he's still an author, and then became an editor. He had written one for Logic 6. And then with the company who was doing the publishing, he was getting more involved in editing and overseeing some stuff. So he was like, I don't have time to also do all of these things. So we did co-write this book, and he would essentially, like, I would do a bunch of the content, send it to him, and he would help put it together. But this company would always put out what they called the Ignite version of a book, and then I don't know, something else, the expert version of the book. So there was like a skinnier, it was 300 pages instead of 700 pages. So I did one of those while I was, doing a bunch of sessions and really getting my shit off the ground
Right.
as an independent producer and engineer. So, I would wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, fuck, I have another chapter to do today. And I would just get up and start writing and doing screenshots. And you could see in the book, a lot of these screenshots are like 3:24 a.m. But I don't know that what that book did was really any better than what you could get from the Apple manual either. So it was an interesting thing to do. If I wrote another book, it would just be like a collection of short stories, all fiction. That's much more interesting to write for me.
Do you think that now with YouTube that people need
That's the new
manuals?
manual for
Right.
a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, that's when somebody has a question about something, it's the first place they go. I fixed my kitchen sink via YouTube.
Right. Yeah, I
You know?
installed a dishwasher like that.
Exactly. So I think publishing for things like that, because it's a lot more immediate, and you can actually see something in motion as it's being done.
Right.
And that tells a lot more than all the words
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Right.
So yeah, I think it has become kind of the manual, and people combine reviews with instructional stuff at the same time.
The problem that I've found with YouTube as an educational tool is that, for instance, to bring it all the way back around to the beginning, when I want to learn how to do a thing, like, how do I do this, that, or the other? Anyone can put something up. I could put an instructional video on how to do that on YouTube, but someone would have to sit through 20 minutes of me going, fuck, why is my hard drive full again? and then whatever, eventually
Right.
getting around to explaining the thing. And I don't want to wade through 178 videos until I get to the one that is the person with the voice that I like to hear.
Right. There's no curation of it. It's the Wild West of trying to find what you need.
Tell me this. Do you have any experience with any of the other online deals?
So my former bandmate is a producer at lynda.com, which was bought by LinkedIn, which
I
was
was gonna
bought by
ask-
Microsoft.
I was going to
Okay.
ask about this.
Yeah. So So he is a producer for many of their music titles.
Huh.
They do it right.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to subscribe to lynda.com.
Yeah, like if you want to do a Logic or a Final Cut training thing, that's the place to go. Absolutely. Because there's no bullshit to wade through.
Right. I love this. This is the second strong endorsement that I've gotten for lynda.com. So not only am I'm going to, today probably, I'll just fucking send them my credit card.
There you go.
I'm going to hit them up for advertising because we've talked about them for about 5 minutes now, and that's a pretty good ad.
Now, when it was just Lynda, they were still pretty big, but now they're a immovable behemoth. So it'll be interesting. I could ask him too, and see if he's got somebody you should talk to
About my ad money.
Yeah.
It's called LinkedIn Learning now, right?
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think
something
so.
like
it's
that.
not called Lynda. If you type in Lynda with a Y now, it's like
it'll kick you over to
LinkedIn
Learning something. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I'm very excited. I was hoping that that's what you were going to say. I was fishing for that. That's wonderful.
That's funny.
Can you imagine how many fewer texts and phone? I mean, maybe this is good. Maybe this is a relief. Maybe
I can
you're
change my
miss
number
me when I'm gone. But
you know what I did yesterday though? I changed my voicemail because of you.
Really?
My greeting, yes.
So many people. Let me just talk about this for a second.
You know who else gave me shit about that all the time? Bill Rieflin. Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. I haven't reached you. I've reached your voicemail. You motherfucker, is what he would say.
What a sad thing.
I still have voicemails from him that I can listen to every once in a while.
Yeah. Do you know, for whatever reason, I have not brought myself, and as we get older, we know more and more people who have passed.
Sure.
But I can't take them out of my phone.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't either.
I haven't done it, you know?
Huh.
People who've been gone for years.
Is that like that feels like the true finality of it?
I don't know. Like every time I open up a Gmail, I don't use GChat anymore because I don't have Gmail. I'm not in front of my computer for the majority of my day anymore. And I don't even know if GChat works on the phone. I imagine it probably does, but
I don't even know what it is.
Google Chat. Like if you've got your Gmail open.
Like the Google?
Yeah, it's like a Google Chat. You know, it's like chat within email. It's like pop up like on Facebook or something. Anyway, I mean, I have my last conversation with Darius there still. Every time I open it up, it's there, and I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing was just said, I love you, buddy. And that's it. It's just like, there it is. Fuck.
But it's the memory you have of, so every time you see it, you have a memory of him. And maybe that's why we don't do it.
Right.
Like I still have Bill's voicemails. And I had to clear out a whole bunch of voicemails recently. And I was like, everything. Oh, Bill's keeping those.
Can we talk about your shitty old outgoing voicemail? Because I've a number of people that I phone have made the same shitty mistake.
And I don't let
me paraphrase. Hi, you've reached Don Gunn. Sorry, I can't take your call right now, but I'm fucking like whatever. I'm fucking swabbing the poop deck.
I thought you were going to say something about my scrotum, but okay, carry on.
And so, it's frustrating because
you're crazy.
Well, let's use our words.
All right.
And our logic. Hi, you've reached Don Gunn. Great, let's talk. Nope.
But Fooled ya.
Jokes, JK. And
So do you start trying to have a conversation with me? Because that's how I would normally answer my phone. Hi, you've reached Don Gunn.
right.
Waiting.
That's how I'm going to start answering my phone. Not hello. Because
Not hello.
you already know who it is usually now, because unless it's a fucking blocked number.
I suppose, yes,
right?
because we all have devices that say who we are calling.
Right. And who's
So
calling
is
you.
there a reason to even say my name?
Sometimes I answer the phone, hi, this is Mike. Because I
I
get
just
a lot of
answer
work calls.
what? What?
That's just when I call.
No, I don't answer.
Have you
go to
heard my
voicemail.
voicemail? It's pretty good. I got to say, I'm pretty.
At some point,
I'm pretty
yeah.
happy about it. It says, "Hi, I'm either unable or unwilling to take your call."
I have heard yours, yes.
Which
That's nice.
It's got to be
Perfectly
one or the other,
passive aggressive, I guess.
right? I mean, and it's just one way of saying like,
I'm screening you. Yeah.
well, and maybe I'm on another phone call that can't be interrupted. I'm
Indeed.
unable. Maybe I'm working. I'm unable, or I'm unwilling because of how it's your call's not as important as what I'm doing. As far as I know, if you call back 4 times in a row, then I know it's important to you.
I suppose. So yes, I have changed it.
Oh, thank you. What's it say?
I don't remember what I said, but well, I think it's
Leave a message.
yeah, you've reached Don Gunn's voicemail. Leave me a message.
Yeah, that's much more clear and to the point.
I don't even say I will call you back. Just
Right.
leave me a fucking message.
That's honest. I love that.
Because I might not call you back.
That's great. I really appreciate that. I do. Hey, are you going to help me with my issue with the 2 different sample rates?
Yeah.
How do
just
I
import it?
How do I fix that?
Is the tempo different?
I hope not. You know what? I'm not good with the drop. I'm getting better.
I know.
I'm getting better at the Dropbox, but he tracked his vocal to the old. Did you track your drums to the exact tempo of the original song?
Oh, I created a tempo map and everything.
Oh, you did. Why am I not surprised? Was that
That's
not
why
on a grid
It was pretty much no, it's on a grid. Yeah.
or on a click?
There were a couple things I slipped around, but yeah, well, that's why it's whatever it is, 111.884 or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes.
So if everything is recorded to that time frame
I hope so.
and they import that to something, even if because I did mine at 48K, and even if they import it into a new project at 44.1, it should import that 48K, make it 44.1. They record their shit, they export it. You now have 44.1 files, but they're still the same duration. You can import that into your 48K thing, and it will it'll convert the sample rate, but it will stay correct.
I'm very excited about this one. About
I
this
am too.
particular Couch Riffs episode. I have an Apollo Arrow or a UA Arrow, whatever that thing is.
On the way?
The USB
Yeah.
powered.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, so you're gonna do your
I'm going to do
on the
mine
truck, your
like
mobile.
mobily. Like,
Are you gonna actually record the vocal live during that?
yeah. I'm not going to I wouldn't need all that shit to walk around and lip sync. I could just put a set of headphones on and lip sync. I've made
That's
music
true.
videos.
There's no
No.
reality here.
I'm gonna record that way. If I was
All right.
really ambitious, I would redo my uke bass part like that too. But
haven't
I'm
heard that
not.
yet.
I'm a little bit
Okay.
lazy. I'm lazy and ambitious at the same time. It's been a very productive year for me.
Well, you found a thing where you have a reason to be creative, and it's kind of cool.
That's strong. That's a strong endorsement.
It's sort of all right.
It's pretty okay.
It's mediocrely fun.
I mean, it's really good.
I think it's
great. You're doing your best.
But I think because of the whole everybody's trapped and feeling trapped, but also wondering like, what do I do? And how do I still produce something?
Right.
So you're involving other people and making them do their parts, but you're a good team leader, as my uncle would say.
Yeah.
Come on, team. I'm the team leader. Let's go, team members.
It's fun to put the whole organize and try and get it together. But when I first started doing this, I was working 15 hours a day. Yeah. And so most of my organization was done while driving, calling people and like jacked up on Red Bull and coffee between my two jobs, like trying to explain to someone what they're going to do. And
yeah, it's like herding cats.
Yeah. So, for instance, the thing you just mixed.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that started? I'll tell you.
Which thing I mixed?
Oh,
the bigger one?
Yes.
It was a while ago.
I'll tell you. It was let me see. Let's look all the way back to mid-April.
Wow.
2.5 months that was in the works. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's how long ago RV did his bit. That's when I got.
Have any of the participants heard their stuff?
Yes.
Heard the mix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everyone is super stoked.
Oh, cool.
I think everyone has heard it. Yeah. I haven't shared the second one around yet, but there's some really fun stuff that I'm working on. So I'm coming up on 100 episodes right now of the podcast.
Yeah.
So there will be some celebratory, like I think that I'll release that episode,
which won't be mine.
I want to do it. I want to do that one. I want to do maybe that week do 2. Both of those, because
mine would be a miserable 100th episode milestone to have.
Oh, I'm talking about the audio. This you're going to be episode 93.
I'll take it.
But I'm doing 2 a week, so 100 is 3 weeks away. Something like that.
A mere blip.
Right.
So blip in time.
That week, I've got a very cool announcement that I'm going to make. I'll release the video, the video, maybe 2, the one that you're drumming on also, perhaps, but perhaps before, if I can get all of the elements together. I'm still waiting on a couple things.
Okay.
But it's an interesting one. It's great, man.
I can't wait to hear the other parts.
I just got one of the vocals back. And that was the thing that I tried to just like drag it over.
Uh-huh.
Didn't work that way. 'Cause he just sent me a zipped session like what I used to send you.
Uh-huh.
So do I have to save that as a file and then take the audio track out of that?
Oh, no. You can open is it a Logic project?
Yeah.
Yeah, just open it, select the track, and export track
as a file. Because then when I drag that over, it just sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I'm going to have to help you.
It's like, it's all speedy because I'm at 48.
No, we'll fix it.
Let me try and fix it before I bother you.
All right. Or send it to me and I'll do the quick export.
Do you know what people love to hear? My tech support conversations. You know what? Here's the thing. If you have stuck around this long in the podcast listening to Don tech support me, essentially, and
you're a
the first
stronger
the first person to comment on in the Instagram platform, because that's the first one that I post to. First person to comment, I'll send you a t-shirt, whatever size you're in. Comment tech support, free t-shirt. Thank you very fucking much for listening. That's no joke. You know how many times I've given away stuff like that where it's like, thank you for suffering.
This is we're coming up on, well, that's a long time.
Almost 2 hours. Wow. Don.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you loose, Don. You're free.
I have to go, I'm going to celebrate my wife's birthday by making some food.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. What are you going to make?
I'm hungry. We're doing a Peruvian chicken that I'm going to barbecue, and I'm going to make a cilantro lime rice.
Oh, that sounds great.
Grilling some potatoes, and what else? Like a chimichurri to go over the stuff. It'll be all right.
A nice a spicy rub on a chicken. You can't really beat that.
Also got to take a shower because I smell like a goat.
I was going to say you're kind of ripe.
Yeah. It's bath week.
Don,
Mike?
You are my king. You are my champ.
Am I the wind beneath your wings?
Well, you are the wind beneath something. You are.
I hope I'm not monitoring what I'm my recording that I'm doing right now of me. So I hope it sounds great. I'm testing out a brand new microphone that I cracked open as I was setting up for this. So
you dropped
that'll
it?
Be kind of fun. No, I took it out of the case.
Oh.
It arrived from England yesterday.
What is it? Is it fancy?
It's a Sontronics Mercury. It's a gigantic, large diaphragm tube condenser. And, it's pretty sexy.
That's
and it's
fancy.
going into my Aurora GT500 preamp. It's actually not hitting the retro, even though it shows gain reduction. I'm going down into my 1176. So it's quite, not bad for a podcast.
Your voice might sound as good as mine.
And you froze again.
Yeah, no, you did.
My voice will never sound as good as yours. Okay.
Don, you're the
Mike,
best.
Thank you.
People should get a hold of you if they want drums recorded. If you need drums, Don's your guy. If you need your album,
mixes?
If you don't live in Seattle, if you don't live around the area, you have recorded music and you want to have it mixed, because if you're going to do all your shit at home and you're going to spend money on one thing, spend it on the mix. Right?
Yes.
Spend it on probably a couple of good microphones, a good interface, and your mix. Is that safe to say?
That is safe to say.
That's what I've tried to do.
Because most homes aren't set up for proper monitoring, so you really don't know what the hell you're hearing.
Right. Well, you do good at making it sound good, and I appreciate that very much.
I spent the money on the monitors and the gear, so you don't have to.
Well, you know what? Pretty sure I could come over and make something sound terrible at your house. If you weren't around, I could make, if you weren't there, I could make things terrible. No problem.
Perfect.
Yeah. But people can get a hold of you. How can they get a hold of you, Don?
My website, DonGunn.com.
How'd you come up with that?
DonGunn. I came up with that because that's what my parents named me.
Oh, wow.
I am a junior, so I have my father's name.
I didn't know you were a junior.
Yeah. Donald Kenneth Gunn Jr.
We came
How dare
all
you.
the way back around.
Yep.
Referencing your father.
My father. Yep. It's an old Scottish name. We have deep Scottish roots from the Highlands up in Caithness. Now you've shut down. You've stopped caring. You're like, yeah.
No,
so?
I'm listening. I was trying to imagine you in a utilikilt with microphones in your,
That could be handy.
Right.
I've never worn a utilikilt. I have worn a proper kilt at my wedding and at my brother's wedding.
Really?
My brother's wedding was in Scotland. Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Do you have how many generations out of Scotland is your family?
My great grandfather was in Scotland inventing the steam train engine and then came to the U.S.
What?
And helped develop the New York subway system. So there's a steam engine called the Puffing Billy that is on display, that he invented, on display in Scotland at some historical museum thing that obviously I don't know the name of.
How is it that this, at the 2-hour mark, this gets revealed? Like, this is the kind of shit that I want to hear about.
Subway sandwiches, when they first came out a bajillion years ago, before Jared and the pedo stuff, they had wallpaper in all their stores that had like lithograph stuff from the New York subway system, and my great-great-grandfather was on there.
Really?
Frank Headley, yeah. So my grandmother got in touch with the Subway Corporation back in the late 70s, early 80s, and got some of that wallpaper from them.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. Look at that.
Did you get a punch card or anything like that? Just like, hey, did you guys know, how many times did you go into Subway and tell that story?
I probably never, actually. Sorry. I should have like free veggie burgers for life or something from there.
Do they do veggie burgers?
Yeah, the veggie patty.
Gross.
It's the only thing I'll eat out of there. I'm not big on meat eating out. I don't trust it.
Well, yeah, you don't know what the fuck.
And that's fast food, and
we don't
really
eat a lot
either.
of meat in our house. Mostly my wife doesn't, although she just found out she is type O negative. Wasn't
that a band?
Yeah. But it's also
she's that band.
It's also a blood type, right?
Yes.
I'm A positive, so I have the youngest blood type. And I believe, I may be wrong. I don't want to steer.
I'm a positive person.
Yeah.
I don't really know
I believe that my body requires protein the least of all of the blood types. I think.
And hers the most?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Type O negative. It's like caveman blood.
I don't know shit about, but I don't know what I am.
Scottish.
Should probably find out. That's what I am.
You don't know your blood type?
Nah, give me haggis blood.
I guess I've known my blood type since I was 18 because that's when I went into the Marine Corps, and your blood type gets sort of like drilled into you, just like you learn your social security number because that's how you're identified. And if you are on a stretcher and someone's like, "What's your blood type?" You know, and it's also
probably important to know.
Yeah.
Before you bleed out, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to know that shit.
I'm too much of a pussy to have ever had to do that, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's you don't have to be a tough guy to be in the Marine Corps, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Don.
Yep.
Subway.
Chow mein.
Sayonara. Buddy, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to be talking to you real soon.
20 minutes.
Yeah, probably. You know what? I'm going to leave you alone all day. Enjoy your
Thanks.
birthday chicken.
Her real birthday's not till tomorrow.
Oh, good.
We're going to celebrate today.
Today's
supposed to be
fake
shitty.
birthday.
Well, it's going to be shitty tomorrow, so we're going to grill today. So I'm not grilling in the rain.
It's going to be shitty here today, but it's fucking nice out.
It's nice here right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go enjoy it.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.